Hello, and welcome to the Imperial Cultural Society. I am your Lord Commander, JordanXlord, and today's program shall be a return to the wondrous world of Daggerheart, which as I've continued to run, homebrew, and hopefully, eventually play more of, further exposure has made me realize something. I cannot think of a single class that doesn't have something cool to do. And while Daggerheart doesn't have the 30 plus classes, with 100 feats and features like Pathfinder, it also doesn't have any duds. My autism demands I delve into each class and discuss game design. I cannot sleep until these voices are quelled. Now, I could start in alphabetical order, but I would then start with Assassin, which is a playtest class. And I don't feel like releasing a video that, knowing my luck, would be updated the second we upload. So we are going to cover only the fully released classes. And as an ordained priest, I'm going to be biased and start with Seraph. Let us begin with the history of this class. Here's where I'd begin with a discussion by going over the class's history and tabletop. Except I really can't for this one. Daggerheart has been out for a few months at this point, and this is an entirely new class made by Daggerheart. So instead, we're going to turn our focus to the history of the term Seraph by delving into everyone's favorite campaign frame, the Bible. You see, Seraph, which translates to the Burning One, as a type of angel originating in ancient Jewish myth. When there were more than one, it is Seraphim, a term you might be a little more familiar with hearing. Now, there's a reason to why in many of these sacred texts, when angels appear, they say, "Do not be afraid." And that's because the Seraphim look like this.
Be not afraid.
Sir, this is the scariest moment of my life.
Tradition places the Seraphim in the highest rank of the hierarchy of angels, which, for those who have not studied their angel lore, from lowest to highest, the hierarchy goes as follows. Angels, archangels, principalities, powers, virtues, dominions, thrones, cherubim, and then, finally, the Seraphim. According to the Cosmic Meteorology by the 16th century occultist Robert Flood, this choir is ruled over by the Archangel Metatron. Seraphim gather on the throne of their god, singing hymns about their glory, and their primary duty is the constant glorification and praise of their deity, acting as the personal attendants to this greater being. Angels such as Metatron, the ruler of the choir, Elmhia, Axihaia, and Sittel, and potentially the Archangel Michael himself can count themselves as part of the Seraphim. And to any of our angelic viewers out there, I am so sorry if I pronounced any of these names incorrectly. Unfortunately, I have not studied High Enochian yet. Those themes of purification, proximity to the divine, and devotion have found a worthy successor in the Seraph. And nothing stops you from becoming a biblically accurate winged sentinel with 6 wings. Make them afraid! Acting as a fusion of cleric and paladin from other systems, the Seraph is an incredible tank, healer, and deliverer of divine judgment that you would want on any battlefield as an ally. You gain access to the domains of splendor and valor. Splendor being the domain of life, allowing one to both give and end life, from mending wounds to creating new ones. Valor is the domain of protection, the ability to protect their allies in battle. While faith is your shield, you shall be the shield of those around you. With the same starting stats as a Guardian, the Seraph is meant to be on the front line, with 7 starting hit points, although with the lowest starting evasion of 9, that unless you build around it, you're going to get hit a lot. In every Daggerheart class, you have a hope feature, a reason to keep burning that hope given to you. In this case, it is the ability Life Support. With no technical limit outside of the high hope cost, you can have, in desperate situations, be able to keep your allies alive, so long as they're within close range. Now onto my favorite feature of this class, the prayer dice. At the beginning of each session, you roll d4s equal to your spell cast trait, and can use these to reduce damage, add to the result after a roll is made, or gain hope. Of course, they do clear at the end of the session, which does encourage you to spend it. And honestly, the ability to generate hope alone is worth it. My only complaint is that it feels that the ability to generate hope feels a tad more powerful than the other options. I'm just worried I can see that being a potential limiting factor to the gameplay variety. Let us move to Subclass time! Ever wanted to play Thor? Wield the legendary sword Excalibur? Or just otherwise have a returning weapon? Then play the Divine Wielder. Your spellcast trait is Strength because
We can't expect God to do all the work.
my first time being a player in Daggerheart was a Divine Wielder Seraph with a blessed spear by a fire cult. And I would toss it before it disappears in a puff of flame and return to my hands. Honestly, that alone was incredibly fun. When you begin your journey as a Divine Wielder, you gain the foundations of Spirit Weapon and Sparing Touch. Spirit Weapon is the one that allows you to throw your weapon freely. You can spend as much stress as you want to target an additional adversary within range, which has given me huge Yondu from Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. Sparing Touch is another form of healing. Effectively, it is your lay on hands if you're familiar with systems like Pathfinder or D&D. Honestly, it's a pretty great once per long rest ability. 2 hit points or stress healed guaranteed is nice. After hitting level 5 and specializing in your radical divine weapon, well, you gain the Devout feature, which allows you to use Sparing Touch twice per long rest and basically roll advantage on your prayer dice, which, I'm gonna be honest, feels really fucking strong. But as of someone who loves Seraph, you won't hear me complain about that. That's just awesome. Finally, at the final tier of play, when you hit 8th level, you can seek to be the Master Divine Wielder, gaining the greatest gift of the gods, Sacred Resonance, which causes every time your spirit weapon does damage. If any of the dice match, double the result. So if you roll 2 5s, they are now 2 10s. At first, I was conflicted about this and really thinking, how useful could this be? But then I realized the gambling potential. And oh boy, do I love gambling. Now before I give in to my Empire-approved Balatro addiction, let us return to the next subclass. Ever wanted to be an angel, or otherwise a winged warrior of faith? Well, it's in the name. Your spellcast trait is also Strength, I guess because if Angela from Marvel Rivals is as yoked as she is, there's something about being Divine Wrath from the skies that gives you a workout routine. Your foundation feature is, of course, Wings of Light! You can fly! And while flying, you can either mark a stress to pick up and carry another willing creature, approximately your size or smaller, which hey, for all the Seraphs wanting to be a transport vehicle, this is the ability for you. Or you can spend a hope to deal an additional d8 of damage on that successful attack, which combined with a certain valid domain card that pushes people will haunt my dreams forever. You know who you are, Seraph player. Now, after flying for some time, you can specialize and truly showcase that be not afraid energy that your namesake is known for. Ethereal Visage allows you while flying to have advantage on presence rolls, which is this game's charisma. When you succeed with hope on said roll, you can remove a fear from the GM's fear pool instead of gaining a hope, which as a GM fills me with terror that I cannot use. finally, at the end, you've become the Master Winged Sentinel at Tier 4. Starting at level 8, you gain Ascendant, which is a permanent +4 bonus to your severe damage thresholds. And Power of the Gods! Which, what does that give you? What is the power of the gods? A D12 instead of a D8 on your Wings of Light extra damage feature, which, honestly, kinda disappointing. The damage threshold bonus is nice though, but a die increase from a D8 to a D12 just does not feel like the apex of a Winged Crusader for me. Now, before any of those Winged Sentinel Mastery enjoyers begin their crusade on me, let me ease the tension by offering the first Imperial Culturally Society improved Daggerheart subclass. Feel free to use this in your games. Content warning. The following subclass does include depictions of self-harm. If such topics are uncomfortable or you wish to spare yourself from this, we at the Imperial Cultural Society understand. Skip to the following time frame below. Remember to stay safe and stay glorious. For the Empire.
Crush my cart with a rock I must. Maximum pain I must endure. Okay, here we go.
My first Homebrew subclass. As during the release of Daggerheart, for some reason I kept on getting video recommendations for Darkest Dungeon, which, as a dark fantasy fan, I had pondered what darker subclass would I introduce for the Seraph, something a tad less benevolent. Then I remember wanting to play a Paladin of Pain years ago, who takes suffering for others, with that vibe and a bunch of videos on the Flagellant class. This subclass was born. When you decide that you are a wretched creature who must suffer, your goal is to maximize your stress so you become vulnerable. Because while you're vulnerable from maximized stress, you also gain the Enlightened condition, which makes you hurt harder and be able to endure more pain. An incredibly cool guy on r/Daggerbrew says it's a way to proactively gain stress, which originally my idea was that you would just use I am your shield every round. So now you have the ability to hit yourself. When you decide to specialize in suffering, I wanted to give you a special death move, creating another complexity in the system and promotes you doing so that by the point you're in the final tier, you might be close or now actively in the ascended condition, which I wanted to give something to build towards the risk and reward playstyle. Effectively, while under the ascended condition, you're permanently enlightened, and you cannot be under the effects of vulnerable. Though the downside is your only death move on this point afterwards is to make a blaze of glory. So you are going to die eventually, but until then, you're pretty cool. Finally, the moment you become a Master of Pain, not only is it the edgiest thing I've said all week, and that's a statement, that's an achievement in of itself, but you also gain improved survivability by granting you an additional use of your prayer dice. My friends point out the second ability has a hilarious image of the whole, I'm going to hurt you and I'm going to feel bad about it, which is kind of funny from a social anxiety standpoint of, I'm going to beat you up and I'm going to be even more stressed. Which just, it's just really funny. I don't have much to say. I really don't know how to move on to the next part, so fuck it. Let's discuss potential ideas for each of the campaign frames from the core rulebook. Within this campaign frame, based on Princess Mononoke, The Legend of Zelda, The Dark Crystal, and Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, you must deal with r/atheism invading a magical forest filled with nature spirit-like gods, where you could potentially play characters such as a painter devoted to Ikilla the Sky Painter, who paints their own wings and flavors all of their spells as sort of kind of like magical paints. Or you could be a former or active Havenite super soldier that has the shard of a destroyed faint divinity embedded within them, using their last relic as their divine weapon.
Call the banners.
All of them, my lord.
Within this campaign frame, based on A Song of Ice and Fire, with hopefully less incest, Eberron rising from the Last War, Court of Blades, and Dragon Age Inquisition, you are living in the aftermath of a brutal and long war that, while peace was achieved, it is fragile, and there are many seeking to raise their banners to battle once again. Well, here in this political game, you could play people such as a former or active hilltop Seraph, who is devoted to a god of protection and peace, who works within the holdings of their church to provide safe travel for any potential refugees from the long years of war, or prepare for if war ever continues, so that way the people are safe. Or you could play as someone within the magocracy of Polaris, an inventor that is inspired by divine inspiration from the god of industry and takes to the skies on magic tech wings as you flavor all of your spells as effectively like steampunk magic tech sort of gadgets and stuff.
Give it to me! Come on! I can make bread with it! Bread! 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 Bread!
In this cozy campaign frame, inspired by Delicious in Dungeon, or Dungeon Meshi, if you think the translated name is lame, all of the cooking scenes from Monster Hunter World and One Piece. You play as villagers from Elmore, who are tasked with delving into the Plover Caves to reignite the magical lure that protects your home and eat everything that comes in your path. You could be a Flagellant. However, instead of inflicting self-wounds, they're on a quest to find the spiciest ingredients possible, each one granting a spiritual vision towards the next. Or for a more subclass agnostic one, the child of the village blacksmith, who grew up near the forge and would gain a reverence of the flame, the one that put food on the table and provides a living to the family. Now they are a grill master, seeking to use that same flame to nourish themselves physically and spiritually.
Arise, ye tarnished, ye dead who yet live. The loathsome dung eater.
In this dark fantasy campaign frame, inspired by such hopeful and optimistic worlds like Dark Souls, Berserk, and Blasphemous, you live as one of the enduring, those left behind by the gods, who fled after an event known as the Apostasy, forced to survive in a world where a dangerous soul blight known as the Umbra lurks behind every corner. You could be a divine wielder who was chosen to carry the burden of a blessed branch, wielding it as a club to defend themselves and others from the blighted creatures of the Umbra. Or you could be a winged sentinel who isn't mortal at all, but actually a cursed celestial bound to the world their gods had forsaken.
That's a laser raptor. I thought they went extinct thousands of years ago. What year is this?
It's the Viking Age.
That explains the laser raptor.
In this post-apocalyptic campaign frame, where magic is technology left behind by a long-fallen civilization, similar to universes such as Horizon Zero Dawn, Mortal Engines, Mad Max Fury Road, and Slug Blaster, you play as people living within the Echo Vale, surrounded by the autonomous machines known as remnants, with the peaceful life you once knew now at risk as a malicious virus spreads, causing the once peaceful machines to turn violent. You could be a winged sentinel that doesn't have any actual wings at all, but instead has a mental connection to a series of drones. Or you could be a divine wielder, whose sacred iconus is actually connected to a faint divinity known as the Great Helper. The weapon is sentient and constantly asks, "Would you like help?"
No, I ain't gonna say it. Go. Kill the man outside, Grackle.
In this rootin' tootin' gunslinger western campaign frame, where technology is powered for the broken shards of forgotten gods, inspired by media like Shadow of the Colossus, Red Dead Redemption, and Deadlands, you assemble to the wanted poster of Mayor Logan Hardley with the task of dispatching these giant forces of nature for the promise of fully processed essentia. Will you die trying, or will you live long enough to tell the tale? Here, you could play a divine wielder who's wielding a stolen relic that is either sees something in them or resents them but cannot be used by another. Or You could be a winged sentinel wearing an Essentia-powered jetpack, whose constant exposure to the power source has granted further powers. Sort of kind of a, I've been connected to this magic for so long, I can now do magic. Now, I hope these kind of give some ideas for you or help inspire you to make ones that are better or similar in quality. But I'm going to go ahead and go into my final thoughts. Ultimately, the Seraph is an incredible class, capable of the power fantasy of divine intervention as you manipulate results, generate hope, and with options to be an avenging angel or having a legendary weapon. This is a great fusion of the best aspects of cleric and paladins, or champion if you're piezo-pilled, that I enjoy. Theology, the divine, and faith are such versatile aspects that I feel that you can tell countless stories with this class alone. With the vagueness of the connection means that you might not even be willingly chosen. What would it mean to be chosen by a god that you do not worship or even know about? And also this allows for the classic warrior priest from fantasy stories and the countless depictions of often polytheistic settings in this hobby. I look forward to making this a series that allows me to delve into the mechanics and history of a major part of the games we play. And I'm so excited to start researching the history of bards, or what is the origin of the term guardian. But before we go, I have a question for all of you. What has been your experience with the Seraph class? Do you have any additional ideas to add to the ones above? I would love to hear your stories. Thank you for watching, and please remember to stay safe and stay glorious.